The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
The National Bank of Georgia reports that as of October 2021, dollarization of private individual deposits amount to 75%. The rate is unchanged for the last year, which indicates that Georgian citizens save the money in USD and Euro instead of the national currency. However, the dollarization rate has been declining at a low rate over the past few years. The average interest rate on GEL term deposits amounts to 11.2%, while the average yield on foreign currency deposits is 2.4%. As for deposits of legal entities, the dollarization ratio stands at 44.2%.
5 to 6% of people will get vaccinated voluntarily. We have to convince or create discomfort for the rest, said the head of the National Center for Disease Control, Amiran Gamkrelidze. Today, we have 34.5% of the adult population that is fully vaccinated. 5 to 6% of people will get vaccinated voluntarily. We have to convince or create discomfort for the rest so that they cannot enter a number of institutions without a green passport, said Amiran Gamkrelidze. He did not answer the media directly when asked whether vaccination is the #1 priority for the state today. In my opinion, and I defend it, vaccination should be the #1 priority in the state, Gamkrelidze said.
Almost 160,000 international visits were made in Georgia in third quarter of 2021, according to the preliminary data of the Statistics Office of Georgia. According to the document, the number of visits by international visitors defined as visits by people who are over the age of 15 amounted to 53.1 thousand per month. In third quarter, the highest number of visits were made by persons aged 31 to 50. 78,000 visits were made from Georgia by this age group abroad.
Georgia might raise the minimum gambling age to 25, including slot clubs. A control over enforcement of regulations will be tightened as much as possible, the Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, told the media. Several days ago, the Prime Minister announced that the government was primarily thinking of increasing taxes for online gambling, banning advertising and raising the threshold to 25 years.
This is the Checkpoints presented to you by Elena Kvanchilashvili and myself. I'm David Jalagoni, and we are here to tell you more on business and economics.
Sunday, 10 p.m. sharp, and we're ready to start. We'll give you a brief overview of Georgia's labor, exports, and PMI for industrial products in Georgia. In all these directions, it is easy to spot the presence for COVID situation, which is not giving in, and Georgia, unfortunately, ranks still very high on the global mortality scale. So much for a brief intro, and let's start with labor statistics. The newest figures we have so far, and the figures tell us that in the third quarter of 2021, the unemployment rate in Georgia increased by 2.5 percentage points compared to the corresponding period of the previous year and equaled 19.5%.
In the third quarter of 2021, labor force constituted 52.8% of the working age population, which is 2.5 percentage points more than that was to the corresponding period of the previous year, while the employment rate increased by 0.7 percentage points and equal to 42.5%.
The labor force participation rate, that is economic activity rate in urban settlements, increased by 2.2 percentage points, while in rural settlements that increased by 2.8 percentage points. The unemployment rate increased in urban settlements by 0.8 percentage points and by 0.7 percentage points in rural settlements.
In the third quarter of 2021, the share of hired employees was 67.3% among employed persons, which increased by 0.7 percentage points compared to the corresponding period of the previous year. The unemployment rate in urban settlements increased by 1.9 percentage points compared to the corresponding period of the previous year, while in rural settlements that increased by 3.5 percentage points.
Traditionally, the unemployment rate is higher for men than for women. In the third quarter of 2021 compared to the corresponding period of the previous year, this indicator increased for women by 2.1 percentage points, while it increased by 2.9 percentage points for men. The labor force participation rate, that is activity rate, is higher for men than for women. In the third quarter of 2021, the indicator for women stood at 42.4%, and for men it stood at 64.7%. The labor force participation rate for women increased by 2.2 percentage points, while for men 2.8 percentage points compared to the corresponding period of the previous year.
In the third quarter of 2021, the employment rate for women as well as for men increased by 1 and 0.4 percentage points, respectively, compared to the corresponding period of the previous year.
Time to brief our viewers and followers on the picture that we have in domestic exports so far. In January-October 2021, the exports of Georgia, excluding non-declared exports, equaled around 3 billion USD. That's around 25% higher year-on-year. Share of the domestic exports in total export constituted 73% and amounted to around 2 billion. That's 27% higher to the same period of 2020.
In January-October 2021, the share of the top 10 trading partners by domestic exports in the total domestic exports of Georgia amounted to 79%. The top partners were China, Russia, and Turkey.
In January-October 2021, copper ores and concentrates reclaimed the first place in the list of top export items, equaling around 656 million USD, or 26% of total exports. The exports of ferro alloys totaled around 378 million USD, and their share in the total exports amounted to around 15%. The exports of wine of fresh grapes occupied the third place in this ranking, standing at USD 188 million and constituting around 8% of the total exports.
And last but not the least in our today's list of reviews is the Producer Price Index for Industrial Products in Georgia. In October 2021, the Producer Price Index for Industrial Products increased by 2.6% compared to the previous month, while compared to October 2020, the index growth amounted to 70.7%.
The prices for products from mining and quarrying increased by 2.1% compared to September 2021, resulting in a 0.13 percentage point contribution to the overall monthly PPI change. In the same period, the prices for manufactured products increased by 2.8%, contributing 2.24 percentage points to the monthly index change. Within the group, a noteworthy price increase was registered for basic metals, that's around 10%, and food products, which is around 3%. Besides, the prices increase for electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning, that's around 2%, contributing 0.19 percentage points to the monthly index change.
The annual PPI rate was mainly affected by price changes for the following products. Manufactured products, the prices increased by 20.3%, contributing 16.09 percentage points to the overall annual index growth. There was a notable increase in the prices for the following subgroups. Food products, chemicals and chemical products, and basic metals, electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning. The annual price increase amounted to 12.6%, which contributed 1.44 percentage points to the annual index growth. Water supply, sewerage, waste management, and remediation services, the annual price increase amounted to 7.8%, which contributed 0.24 percentage points to the annual index growth.
On the Coordination Council this week's decision, David Green passport only admission will apply from December 1st to the following eateries, restaurants, cafes and bars, both outdoor and indoor, cinemas, theaters, opera houses, museums, concert halls, entertainment centers, casinos and gambling sites, spa centers, fitness clubs, hotels and aerial lifts in winter resorts. So these requirements also apply to the guests of the listed facilities. As for entertainment centers for children, green passports are mandatory for citizens aged over 18. According to Deputy Health Minister Tamar Gabunia, those citizens who recovered from COVID-19 will receive permanent green status. Unlike Tamar Gabunia, Amiran Gamqrelidze, head of NCDC, directly stated that he had a different position on the issue. Here is all we have on the issue currently in one story we put together for you.
The government has officially allowed the country's green COVID passports to take effect on December 1, though it's not as green as it is in other countries. Green status is given to a person who has been vaccinated or has received a full 2 doses of the vaccine, also to those who have contracted COVID infection. However, 14 days must have passed since the laboratory confirmed case of COVID, in which case the so-called period no longer applies. The lock is uplifted and they will be given a green status permanently. The government dismantled the locking mechanism and granted the same privileges to those who recovered from COVID-19 but are not vaccinated, the same way as those who are vaccinated. This approach is critically evaluated by health professionals, and they say that recovering from COVID does not rule out the risk of reinfection, and it does not mean that your immunity to the virus is strong. Accordingly, they say that this decision by the government is populist and has a political nature. We can say boldly that we're playing with fire. Today, we have a very high mortality rate, and at the same time, making such decisions is highly risky, which means that in the near future, we will have new waves of COVID. These waves may not even end, in which we're now, and we will have high mortality rates. This rule will only encourage anti-vaxxers once again that vaccination is not necessary. This will convert the message that whoever recovers from COVID is free from responsibility and will have a permanent green passport. This regime absolutely ignores all the healthy ideas, including practices of countries where COVID was practically defeated and people returned to normal life, where these initiatives originated from and were implemented in. They make these ideas lose their meaning. Statements regarding the decision were also made by the members of the Coordination Council. Deputy Minister of Health Tamar Gabunia explains the launch of a permanent green passport for those who recovered from COVID with a low rate of reinfection. By September, there were about 5,000 people in our entire cohort who have recontracted the virus. Thus, the reinfection rate is not high based on our 2 years of experience. For us now, the main thing is to introduce a green passport as a mechanism and to have a more positive attitude towards the introduction of a green passport than additional stress and discomfort for society. Gabunia also justifies herself by saying that the decision to issue a green passport will be painless for society. What we cannot oppose is that several thousands of people will easily enjoy green status without being vaccinated. Amiran Gamqrelidze, director of NCDC, does not have a similar position to Gabunia. He openly states that his position on the issue is different. The issue is resolved by consensus. It does not mean that the Center for Disease Control will say anything and it must be accepted. Our position was different. The Coordinating Council made the decision by a majority for a certain period of time. We do not know whether the decision of the Coordinating Council to adopt a permanent green status for those recovered from COVID was a consensus, but the Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili says that he will make a great contribution to the easing of the rules established for the green passport. When this plan and vision was presented to me, very difficult options were put in place. I have minimized it and adopted to existing reality and the wishes of the population in order to get a more balanced approach. Today, health professionals unequivocally agree that NCDC should have a clear position on pandemic management, and decisions in this case should have been made not by politicians, but by health professionals and epidemiologists. As a representative of the field, I believe that the position of NCDC should be separated from the position of the government, because they, like all of us in the field of health, have much more responsibility for human health than any other political figure. In this case, they should act in the interest of the country and not what decision is made by coordinating council, where health professionals have a minority of votes. In my opinion, both the Ministry of Health and Center for Disease Control should speak more boldly and loudly about what is right. Recent practice shows that adjusting to the role of infectious diseases specialists or epidemiologists in the country has become a proven method. Amiran Gamkrelidze's statement also confirms to some extent that the opinion of the specialists is no longer partially taken into account when managing the coronavirus pandemic. Eventually, they make decisions that serve the common public interest. Less, we can say that the introduction of a permanent green passport for those who recovered from COVID but will be unvaccinated is a clear example of this practice.
What kind of challenges do European businesses face in Georgia? This was our main question to the chairman of the European Business Association this week. According to John Breckeveld, the biggest issue is the procurement system of the Georgian government.
Everybody knows governmental procurement. It is some kind of difficult for European businesses to go to the Georgian procurement system. I can tell you the simple I'm running a transport logistics. I know there are customs issues. There are issues in how to make Euro 1 certificates of origin, how to make it easier, facilitate trade. If you calculate in Georgia, the cost of goods is very high in Georgia, and the simple reason is the transport cost is high. You have a markup of 30% on transport, which in European countries it goes between 5 and 10%. Why? Okay, because you are not inside the European Union. But this can be facilitated by easier documentation flow, which make the transport cheaper. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Very interesting points indeed, David. Let us remind our viewers and followers that members of the European Business Association met with EU Ambassador Karl Haltzel to discuss important business issues, including digitalization, public procurement, and export opportunities created by the DCFTA. The EU Ambassador told the media that the EBA platform is important because it will allow Brussels to hear what is important for European businesses operating in Georgia, and the platform will also provide information to the Georgian government. According to the chairman of the European Business Association, the business sector faces challenges, and such meetings will become permanent in order to strengthen European companies in Georgia.
We have, in the last few months, tried to create a stronger basis for European businesses to have a concerted voice, both as a key interlocutor to the EU delegation and to institutions in Brussels about giving us advice and assessments of the situation of doing business here in Georgia, but also to give advice and be an interlocutor representing European interests together with others here in Georgia to the government agencies and others, all with an aim of trying to make sure that we can make maximum use of the deep and comprehensive free trade area and make sure that investments are coming here to Georgia, etc.
Where the business community can discuss with the EU delegation to Georgia what are the obstacles. As your question, obstacles, yes, of course there are obstacles. I would say Georgia has a free trade agreement. Me, myself, I'm running a Belgian business, which almost here is now for 25 years. Is in Georgia operating. So I know the pre-DCFTA and after, when the DCFTA arrived, and you see the enormous difference, how easy it got for trading. Of course, the DCFTA is a European model. We need to make sure that it's also for the Georgian businesses correct, and that it facilitates them to do more trade.
Europe is not built in one day, so it takes time for Georgia to catch up to European countries. This was another interesting point that came from the chairman of the European Business Association. He also mentions that in terms of growing a more business-friendly environment, Georgia has to be bit more faster.
It takes time to have a whole country change in the direction to be even more business friendly. Europe was also not built in one day, so Georgia is getting there, but Georgia has to be, unfortunately, a bit faster, that it doesn't catch up. You mentioned at the beginning post-COVID. It is the moment that you really have to think on post-COVID, and it is the moment that we have to make sure that the Georgian businesses have a jump start, that they are the first ones to do the trade with other companies, with Europe, and that we can increase the trade volume.
Speaking of Europe, David, and let me mention here briefly that British Ambassador Mark Clayton sums up the first year of his work in Georgia. I've known about Georgia for as long as I can remember. Georgia is a wonderful place. People are wonderful and hospitable. These are the impressions of Mark Clayton. Here's more of his views about Georgia and his work here in a short video.
I'm Mark Clayton and I'm the British Ambassador here in Georgia. I've known about Georgia for as long as I can remember. I studied Russian at school and went on a visit to the Soviet Union, and one of the presents I brought back for my mum and dad was a box of Georgian tea. We have a fantastically strong relationship with Georgia on a whole range of issues. So we've got a really rich, strong partnership that I'm proud to play a role in taking forward. But then, of course, beyond that, Georgia is a wonderful place. People are wonderful and hospitable. Food is amazing, wine even more so. Travelling, seeing Georgia, learning about Georgian history has been absolutely fantastic, and I do quite a lot of that on my bike. So rather than being driven around in a fancy car with a flag on it, I get to actually go out and see what the real Georgia is like. Just like for everyone else, for the diplomatic community, COVID has had a huge impact. But despite that, I think we've achieved, huge things. I've got a fantastic team here in the embassy. It's not been the same as I would have expected, but it's been fun, exciting, and I'm really proud of it. One of the best things about being an ambassador is you get to do everything. On a typical day, I can do everything from talking to our excellent technical team about the plumbing in the embassy. I can have a discussion within the embassy about politics. I can have management discussions with the team about how they're doing and how I can help them deliver on their jobs. And then I can go out and do anything from meeting Georgia's political leadership, speaking to British businesses here, or then perhaps at the end of the day, if I'm lucky, getting to do the glamorous cocktail party. But it's a real mix, and in a way that's what I absolutely love. One of the things that I was particularly proud of was arranging not just one but two ships visits to Georgia. The most recent was HMS Defender. Really impressive demonstration, both of the capabilities that the UK has got to offer, but also the support that we can give. One of the things that I am really pleased about is that actually the UK has got a really broad-based relationship with Georgia. Through the British Council, we deliver English language learning in remote and conflict-affected areas of Georgia. We have a strong and growing trading relationship with working in Parliament and with businesses and helping reform the civil service. By the time I've left, I want to make sure that the UK has made a difference here. The British Embassy here in Tbilisi has a really straightforward objective, and that is to support Georgia in its progress towards EU and NATO membership. It's an absolute privilege to do this job, to represent my country overseas in a place as wonderful as Georgia.
Was that too bad at all?
No, it's all fine. I can handle that sort of thing.
You're naturally a movie star. You're absolutely great. See this sport out.
Sure.
Georgian brand Spilo is now exported to different markets worldwide, and it has its own personal shop on British Amazon now. It has attracted the attention of the Sun, and its face masks have hit its pages side by side with Emilio Pucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Lauren Ruth among top 5 best face masks. Meet Spilo, made in Georgia.
I am Sopochkaidze, the co-founder and director of Spilo. We have been in the market since 2016. Our company makes children's clothes. This company was founded by 3 mothers, and all 3 of us are actively involved in all business affairs. The source of inspiration was our children. Back when we started, there was only a very small selection of unique clothes in the Georgian market. We always had to order clothes from abroad. We wanted to have clothes available in the Georgian market, clothes that would not restrict children to play, clothes that would be comfortable. This desire pushed us to start a business. Our biggest problem in this business is raw materials, because Georgia doesn't produce even one square piece of fabrics. So we buy fabrics mainly from Turkey, America, and Poland. We have formed a brand that is associated with Dino jackets, colorful and comfortable clothes, and fun. Dino jacket is the best-selling and favorite product of the brand, which we created completely by accident. We established business connections with one of the stores in London, where we sent our collections. This store asked us to create clothes for International Book Day, and we made several costumes, including a dinosaur jacket. Dino jacket gained a lot of feedback and approval. Everyone wanted to buy it. We then changed this costume and turned it into an everyday jacket that the child could comfortably wear. Since then, Dino's Friends products have appeared, including monster jackets and dragon dresses. Our clothes for children have become even more popular. Our first export experience was when we participated in the children's clothing trade fair in Paris, called Playtime Paris. We went there with the help of co-financing of Georgia and first received international orders. We went to the exhibition in 2020 as well and received orders from Germany, Italy, France, Luxembourg, and Greece. Despite the pandemic, we managed to sell all the orders. We want to bring Dino jackets to children of all countries. Our plan is to make Spillo an international brand and cover the markets of all countries as much as possible. It is very difficult, but we're trying our best to do everything on our own.
More business news, especially for you, our viewers and followers. This is how the business week looked like for the checkpoints.
David Bardavelidze, the founder of Georgian company Georgian Products, declares that a manufacturer of animal furniture and food will add a new line to the production of animal feed from 2022, Georgian fish products and vegetarian line. According to him, obtaining the European Union certificate on fish and vegetables is relatively easy, as Black Sea fish are allowed in European Union countries. At the same time, as David Bardavelidze notes, a 100% export-oriented Georgian company will also sell new products in the European Union countries and the United States. Georgia bought less roasted or unroasted coffee in 10 months of 2021 compared to 2020 and 2019. According to the official statistics, Georgia imported roasted or unroasted coffee of 5,101.7 tons from different countries, which is 3% less compared to the same period of the last year, while 8.1% less compared to 2019. In January-October, Georgia spent $14.8 million on the coffee imports, which was 14.5% up compared to 2020. The list of top 10 importing countries is as follows: Indonesia, Russia, Italy, Vietnam, Germany, Armenia, Turkey, France, the Netherlands, and Austria. Despite the fact that Georgia does not produce coffee, local coffee exports amounted to 105.6 tons, valued at $336.9 thousand in September-January. Georgia made coffee exports to Armenia and Russia. Bay leaf and medical plants processing plant Black Sea Loris, located in Guria, village of Nikuziana, Lanchkhuti municipality, started processing season of laurel leaves and exported 12 tons of products to Ukraine. As the representative of the plant, Mikhail Melua, explains, the laurel season has just started and it is still unknown how many tons of raw materials they will be able to process in total. Black Sea Loris processed 251 tons of laurel leaves last year despite the pandemic, added a new technological line, and exported 30 tons of laurel leaves to Ukraine. Colliers, Georgia published a report on residential real estate recovery. As of the document, in October 2021, 1,027 transactions were registered in Batumi, that is 10% lower than the same period in 2019. As for the market size, the figure stands at $45 million, reflecting a 2% increase compared to October 2019. According to the updated data, in October 2021, 882 transactions were registered in new projects. That is 12% lower than the same period in 2019. On the other hand, the number of transactions registered on old flats has increased by 11% compared to October 2019. In October 2021, the market size of new flats has decreased by 4% when compared to the same period in 2019. As for the old flats, the figure stands at $7 million, increasing by 50%. $4.7 million worth of permissions have been exported from Georgia between September 1 to November 21. According to the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture, 9,344 tons of persimmons have been exported. The ministry declares that exports of persimmons from Georgia have been increased by 25% year over year, while the value of exports was up by 17%. The main export market for Georgian persimmons is Armenia. Local company Green Bumbo, located in the village of Supsa, Lanchkhuti municipality, will export Georgian essential oils to Europe. Doka Bagaturia, commercial director of the company, declares that their main export markets are neighboring countries, but after obtaining ISO certification, the company plans to expand its markets throughout Europe. Green Bumbo currently produces 3 types of essential oils and plans to start producing citrus essential oils in the summer. The company's capacity is 500-600 liters, and the main part of the product is export-oriented. According to the commercial director of the company, price of essential oils in the local market is 15 lari, while its costs on the export markets is $7 to $8 on a 10 milligram pack. From August 1 to November 21 of this year, 13.8 thousand tons of hazelnuts were exported from Georgia, the value of which amounted to $63.1 million. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, compared to the same period last year, the volume of exported hazelnuts increased by 3.6 thousand tons, or 34%, and the value by $6.8 million, or 12%. The Communications Commission published a report on political advertisements in the media. According to the document, TV and radio broadcasters allotted more than 39,000 minutes for free political advertising during the elections. If the broadcasters took the money in the advertising, their revenue would grow about 23.2 million lari. Of this, more than 35,000 minutes were allotted for free political advertising on TV, valued at approximately 22.5 million lari. As for paid political advertising, according to the Communications Commission, revenue from paid political advertising totaled 3.8 million lari. Paid political advertising was placed on 8 national TV channels by 5 political parties: Georgian Dream, Lelo Georgia, National Movement, Girchi, and Tribuna. As for the regional broadcasters, in total, 22 regional broadcasters received 44,661 lari paid from political advertising. Wooden accessories of the Georgian company Roots are sold in the USA through the international online platform Etsy. As the founder of the company, Shalva Milorava, said, the company was founded in March this year and started producing wood products in Zugdidi with an investment of 20,000 lari. According to the founder of Roots, there is a lot of competition in the local market in this segment, but it strengthens the startup and pushes it to enter foreign markets in addition to sales in the country. The company notes that the price of raw materials in the country has risen about 50% since its launch, which also affects the cost of the product. Despite the challenges, the company plans to make a profit in 2 years. The opening of Rooms Hotel in New York is temporarily delayed due to the pandemic. However, Achara Group is still considering expansion of the hotel chain outside Georgia. Otar Berishvili, new project development manager of Achara Group, does not rule out that Rooms brand will also be represented in other countries along with the USA in the near future. The company opened the first hotel rooms in Azbegi in 2012. Achara Group operates hotels under this brand in Tbilisi and Bakoriani as well. Next year, it is planned to open another hotel in Batumi.
And before we say goodbye for today, here's one announcement.
Yes, a very good and interesting announcement. 24th session of the UNWTO General Assembly will be held from November 30 to December 3, 2021 in Madrid, Spain. Our viewers and followers remember that our business group is a signatory of the memorandum with UNWTO, including the checkpoints, and what's more, its president is Georgian for the second term, Zurab Bolorigashvili.
Exactly, Elena. Let us wish the world a very fruitful discussion during the season. This is a sector that needs to thrive after this pandemic.
Cannot agree more on this with you, David.
Well, that's all for today, I guess then.
Yes, follow us on BM.G and Forbes.G and enjoy the feature from Guillaume Moulart. Till Sunday.
Kamajoba. Have you ever heard about the concept of glamping? Glamping is the contraction between two words, glamorous and camping, offering such unusual accommodations. The concept is becoming worldwide famous, and Georgia is the perfect place to welcome those kind of unusual lodgings. A young Belgian man, Jonas, succeeded to implement here in Algerian mountains near Roulo probably what is the most famous glamping of the country, Tago. We're gonna meet this place together.
So the idea really developed over 4 years' time. I always wanted to open some kind of accommodation somewhere, like a hostel, because I traveled a lot in hostels. And then, yeah, the idea just evolved to see what people really need and what they want and what would fit for this place. And so Nila it changed to the glamping, to the project that we have right now. And the concept is, it kind of still has the hostel idea behind it, but it's a glamping, right? So it's a glamping combined with social atmosphere. So we really want to connect people and bring people together. That's what we're trying to do. I think Georgia has a lot of things to offer, and I think it's really a country that has so much potential. And I've traveled to a lot of countries, and I think Georgia it's really safe. It's kind of easy to travel, but still it's an adventure because of all the mountains and the crazy nature. So while it's safe and convenient, at the same time you still have like a lot of adventure. On top of that, the people are super friendly here, so that's also very important. It's not too far culture-wise away from Europe, also distance-wise. It's not, because I still have like some people in Belgium, right? So I think that also might have played a role. And yeah, I love mountains, so yeah, that also helped. And then also, you know, the good business environment, that's quite easy to open a new business here. There are also a lot of initiatives from government, European Union, and from USAID to support new businesses that are trying to do something good in the country. So that was definitely also a reason. So yeah, all these things together, you know, they make like a really, yeah, Georgia just checks off like a lot of the boxes, yeah. From the paperwork point of view, it's easy. That's like the easiest part of it, you know, like registering the business, opening the bank accounts. It's very smooth. The Georgian government, they also want to attract foreign investors and foreign, people who want to open businesses, right? So they make it very easy to register a company and to start a company, right? The thing that is, of course, a lot more challenging is, especially because we're in the mountains, is to get accepted by the local community, make sure that they're involved in the project, make sure that they understand that you're trying to do something that will also benefit them. And so that's definitely was the most difficult part. But I also understand it, you know, like just imagine that somebody comes to your village that's somewhere in the mountains where there's almost never tourism, and then all of a sudden there is this Belgian guy that wants to open a hotel there, you know. It's like, is this guy going to do this? It really changes the dynamics of the whole village, right? So It's normal that people are like a little bit skeptical, a little bit afraid. They don't know me, they don't know if I actually want to do something good or I'm going to do something bad. So that was a really big challenge. It still is, I think. But right now, you know, the project is running. We're really trying to work as much as possible with local people. Like I think we employ 8 people full-time from the village. And then we also have some people who work here now and then. Most of the work that's done here is done by locals. We don't work with any volunteers or people from other cities, even in Georgia. Only one person. And that's for that reason, you know. We want the village to really benefit from the project, to try to buy local products. It's impossible to make everybody happy, 100% for sure. For me, it was very difficult because in the beginning, I took it very personal when somebody wanted to do something bad against the business or wanted to block it or, I don't know, get money in some kind of dirty way. I really was taking it very personal. But right now I know it happens to most of the businesses, and you will always have people who just want to get money the easy way and the dirty way, right? But luckily most of the people in the village are not like that. I think 90, maybe even 95% of all the people in the village, they really support the project and they see that we're trying to do something good here. And then there's just 5% people that really want to. Yeah, but I think it's not even place dependent, you know. I think this happens anywhere where you try to start a business. And it took me some time to realize this, because in the beginning I was like, what am I doing wrong, you know? I'm trying to do something good, why don't some people see it? But right now most people, they do see it, and yeah, it's really nice. And the people that don't see it, yeah, it's okay. So we have a road that goes here, but the road is not the best. So right now we bring actually most of the food, we bring by the cable car, and then once a month we also come with a car to bring like bigger supplies, like for example drinks and all these things, and we bring it by car. I really want this place to be a mix of people from Georgia, expats, tourists. The idea is just that we have people that want to connect with nature, so that's really the main thing, and who want to connect with each other. So it really doesn't matter where they're from or what they do in life, how much money they make. We also put the prices, I think, quite affordable, so that it's also accessible for Georgians. It really depends on season, right? Like in high season, of course, the prices will be higher, and in the weekends the prices are also like a little bit higher. But for example, in low season, the prices can be, now for example, the prices are like 50 lari for one person on one side, for 2 people 75, and on the other side it's 75 lari, and then 100 lari for 2 people. So that's it. And then in high season it might be maybe double the price, something like that too. This year was the first season, and it was of course a little bit tricky because we're in the middle of the pandemic. Still, maybe not in the middle, but we're still in the pandemic, right? And tourism is like, I researched it yesterday, it's like at 25% only of what it used to be in 2019. So, you know, it's a little bit tricky, but I think we did quite good. I was not really surprised by it, but still a little bit afraid that it wouldn't be that good, right? And I think the reason why that it was still successful, even though we're in a pandemic, is because because it's glamping, you know, you go away from the city, you're in nature, you're in open air, so it's like the perfect place to escape during a pandemic. And I think that's the reason why it still worked. And also because we really want to, make it accessible also for local people. Like for example, all our marketing, the whole website, all our communication is also in Georgian, for example. So yeah, I think it went quite good. There are still a lot of things that I want to improve, and I think if tourism levels go higher, we can extend the season, because right now it's quite a short season. But next to that, yeah, I think it was a good first year. Yeah. So yeah, moving from Belgium to Georgia, it's of course an adventure, right? You're going into a new culture, new country, new language. So yeah, there were definitely a lot of things that I needed to adjust to, and I think it really takes time to really get to know the real culture. You know, if you're traveling as a tourist, okay, you get to know it a little bit, but you don't really get to know to the core of the culture, right? So there were definitely some adjustments that I needed to make, some expectations, and that were met some expectations that were for sure met. But yeah, I think for me it was not so difficult to do it, because again, like I said, the culture of Georgia, I feel like Georgia is kind of a European country, you know? Okay, it has its own cultural background, which is maybe not so European, but I feel here as comfortable, maybe even more comfortable than in Europe. Like, I think sometimes what people miss, or it's normal, people are like, they think they cannot do something, right? They think like, oh, I need like a lot of money for this, or oh, I don't have what it takes to do something, right? Until they see someone else doing it, which is just a normal person. Like I think I'm a normal person. I came here also with like no money, so only like maybe educational wise there is a difference, but money wise or stuff like this, there is not such a big difference, I think. And I think if they can see me doing it, 25 years old from Belgium, then maybe they can also think, if this guy can do it, you know, I can also do it. And hopefully, yeah, I really hope that some people will also see this and then think like, maybe I should also start my own business. Yeah, and I'm more than happy to help people to open their own glampings or places. I'm not afraid of competition or something like this. I think the tourism market is big enough, and there is not enough good places like this. Yeah.
Today was another example that Georgia is attracting more and more foreign investors. The business climate is really welcoming for this kind of new projects. An example to be followed by other foreigners for sure, but also by Georgians.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.